All right. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Brad Bullish from the Connecticut State Library, Division of Library Development. And Gail and I are here to talk about findIT and requestIT. So we're very happy to have all of you here. The idea of this is a DLD Mini, so it's supposed to be kind of quick. Someone that was very good at presenting once sent to me that you want to be brief, be bright, and be gone. And that's sort of the idea. But we also want to have lots of time at the end to answer any questions that you may have. So with that, I'll let Gail introduce herself and get into the presentation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gail Hurley, also from Connecticut State Library, Division of Library Development. And again, happy to be here with Brad, and we'll get started. Okay, so I am going to talk about findIT CT, which is our statewide library catalog. So first, I'm just going to give you a brief overview. Like I said, this is the statewide library catalog, and just a quick little history for those of you who may have been working in libraries for a while. We've actually had a statewide library catalog since 1989. Those early years of like in the 90s, some of you might remember it was actually on CDs, and the state library would mail the CDs to the libraries who had these big CD-ROM towers. That did end up finally going into an online catalog, which we have had an online catalog of sorts for about 25 years. And findIT is our most recent iteration of the statewide catalog, and that has been actually around for 10 years now. So findIT actually has about 19 million bibliographic records, 16 million holdings from 296 libraries of all types. So it's academic, public, school, and special libraries. And all libraries in the state are all welcome to send their holdings to the statewide catalog, whether you're participating in an interlibrary loan or not. It's just kind of really nice to see who has what around the state. findIT uses the fulfillment software based on Evergreen, which was developed by Equinox, who's our vendor. And then we also work with Bibliomation. They actually manage the back end in processing of all our of the catalog. So we're very thankful for them to do that and partner with us on the project. And findIT, as the statewide catalog, serves as the base catalog for the requestIT ILL service, which Brad will be talking about. One of the things I also have on here is just we have a LibGuide for findIT, and what's on the LibGuide are things like statistics, if you're interested in seeing some statistics. For example, we had 1.5 million visits to findIT this past fiscal year and 6.7 million page views. Also on the LibGuide are instructions on actually how to submit your holdings to the statewide catalog. So if you are already part of a regional network, such as Bibliomation, LCI, Lion, Concert, or the Southeast Libraries group, they will submit holdings on your behalf to the statewide catalog. If you're a standalone library, you will need to submit on your own behalf, and I can work with you on that if you haven't done that previously. So let me move on. So the next thing I just wanted to show you are basic search. So when you go to findITCT.org, you are brought by default into this basic search screen. And what you will see for the search box, you do have an option of searching by keyword, title, author, subject, and series. You also are defaulted for format of all formats, but you do have the option under that drop-down box. There are about 25 individual formats that you could choose from as well to narrow your search. You will also see on this basic search screen, right above the search box, there are links to go directly to an advanced search screen, as well as if you want to just browse the catalog. And then once you do get search results, you will be brought up to your screen will have facets on the left as well to be able to limit your search further. So you can limit by author or by genre, subject, or even geography, for example. So let's take a look at the advanced search screen. So your advanced search screen obviously has a lot more things you can do on it. You'll see kind of right in the middle, you have 3 search rows of, you can do Boolean searching. And you also, right below that, there's an add search row. There's literally, I mean, you can keep adding. I don't think you want to go too deep into narrowing it that way, but you do have an option if you did need additional rows that you can do that as well. Right above the search boxes where it says advanced search, you'll also see 2 yellow tabs. You do have an option if you want to do just a numeric search. That will be a search that lets you do searches by ISBN, LCCN, call numbers. And then this expert search is if you really need to dig down and you are able to actually search by a specific mark tag and subfield, for example. So that's what those 2 searches do. Below all the search boxes, you will also see another whole grouping of additional qualifiers, limiters that you could use to narrow down your search further. So things like item type and form. Language, I'll talk a little bit more about language. This is definitely a popular limiter in the catalog, and we often do get questions about this. If you are looking for materials that are written in a specific language, you can put any of your search terms above and then select from this very long list of languages you can choose from. And Connecticut libraries do seem to have a lot of materials in various languages, so you never know. You may have some good results from that. One thing you cannot do with the language is simply just choose a language without putting in any kind of search term. So my recommendation to you, if you're looking for anything that might be there in a particular language, put something super broad as a term in your field, like do a keyword on fiction or something like that, just something to be able to get results. And then the other limiter I really like just to the right of the language is the audience. So this is great for example, if you have kids that need to do, say, like a science project, maybe they're doing a project on space. If you don't put the audience qualifier, you don't want to have maybe some like heavy duty physics books coming back and all that. So you could just select juvenile for your limiter on the audience, for example, and bring back some much more age appropriate books for that audience. And then further down, you'll just see some other limiters there as well, publication year. And then you finally on the bottom right you can sort by various things. So you can sort by relevance, title, author, publication. And then below that, you'll see a little blue checkbox as group formats and editions. We have that as our default to bring back search results that do group all like editions and formats together. You can uncheck that if there's a reason why you would need to be really looking for specific individual copies, but that's there as well. So, and then from this screen, you can always near the top go back to the basic search or back to a browse catalog. So that's what I have for my very quick review of findIT, and I'll turn it over next to Brad to talk about requestIT.
All right. Thank you, Gail. So the reason we started with findIT is because findIT is the foundational database that fulfillment and the requestIT CT program utilizes. So that's sort of the order of things and the logic behind it. So that's good information to have. But just a quick overview of requestIT. We have 131 participating libraries. We serve public, academic, and K through 12 libraries in FY 2025, we had 14,406 loans that were processed through fulfillment. Next slide. And one of the things I'd like to show you is what I love so much about fulfillment. This is the interface when you log into fulfillment that you will see. And if you look the blue band, if you look, you can see in the middle of the three options to the right, findIT can be selected there. So that's how you go about searching the catalog to go ahead and make requests. But you'll see below there are a bunch of tabs. It starts with single scan, goes to pending request, and so on. So those tabs are very helpful because the way they're set up is they're set up with the borrowing side and then the lending side. And the reason that this is important, I've worked in interlibrary loan on and off for 30 plus years. And as simple as it seems that there's a borrowing and a lending side, it can get very confusing. There's often multiple staff members that are working in the interlibrary loan department at different times, sometimes in off hours. It can get very confusing very easily. And so workflow becomes very, very important. So the way that this interface is set up really helps with workflow. As I said, each tab has a very clearly delineated borrowing side and then a lending side. So that, like I said, is one of the things that I think is most helpful about fulfillment. Next slide. So we also have a LibGuide to support interlibrary loan departments, and requestIT is something that is a program that uses fulfillment foundationally, but the information here is for anyone operating in the interlibrary loan world. So we have definitions that are both for interlibrary loan and also for fulfillment. There's always jargon, things that don't always make sense to the layman. So you can go in and check out these definitions if you need a little bit of a clarification for either interlibrary loan or fulfillment. And then we also have policies listed here. And the policies are library policies throughout the state of Connecticut. So what we mean by policies is, what do you loan? Do you loan DVDs? Do you loan audiobooks, that type of thing? So if you're making a request through fulfillment and someone keeps saying no, you might say, why are they saying no? Let me check. And you can go into the policies and see that they, in fact, don't lend DVDs. So that's something I think that is very helpful to have. We also have a section on borrowing and lending workflow. So the workflow, to me, is one of the most critical elements of interlibrary loan. Again, as I said before, it can get very confusing. So it's nice to have a good overview of how the workflow should go for both the borrowing and lending side. Now, from time to time, we have enhancements that Equinox provides. And what they do when they make these enhancements is they provide us with documentation. That documentation is put into a PDF format, and we save it on the LibGuide. Single scan is there. I think disallow request is there. Multiple copy request is there. So different things like that. So as we get that documentation, we post it because a lot of libraries will, I always had a binder, a manual that we used in interlibrary loan that you could refer to, but a lot of people will use the LibGuide actually as their binder. You can also print this stuff out and put it in a physical binder if that's what you're interested in doing. And then we also have the list of participating libraries. So all the libraries, there's a hot link to their contact page and findIT. So you can get contact information by email or by telephone. You get hours that the library is open, that type of thing. But what you can do is, if you do have an issue where you're trying to coordinate on an interlibrary loan request, you can get the contact information of the library that you need to coordinate with very quickly and very easily. Next slide. So let's talk about training. This is a DLD Mini. It's not meant to be in depth. It's just to, give you an overview. But because of Zoom and the convenience of it, training is always available on demand, to the point where if you emailed me this morning and you said you wanted to do a session this afternoon, borrowing any schedule issues, we could get together this afternoon and have a training. And the training can be as simple as, there's one little section of the interlibrary loan process I want to talk about, or it could be something where it's a full-blown training for a new staff member, or it could be if you're just joining the program for the first time and you need that first in-depth training. And then we can also do just a quick refresher training. So that's always available. And I recommend that you take advantage of that if you like. It really is a pleasure to get to talk interlibrary loan with people. So again, I'm always available, and pretty much at the drop of a hat, we're happy to get together to talk about what the training options are. Next slide. All right, so there are a number of upcoming enhancements that Bibliomation and Equinox have proposed. So we're kind of working through those right now. But the big one that I want to point out is the patron-initiated option. So this is an option where patrons would be able to go into findIT, and they would be able to place requests. The way that would work is the patron would make a request, and you can set it up so that you get to review that request. Because one thing I noticed when I worked interlibrary loan in a public library is that when people made their own requests, sometimes they didn't realize that the book was being held in our own library. So that's one of the things where you want to have a little bit of management, but that's something we're working on. We don't have timeline yet, but as soon as we do, we'll get that announced. But I think this is a really wonderful enhancement to fulfillment that you'll all really like, and your patrons will probably like it too. So with that, I think that may be all I have. Yep. So at this point, we're going to stop sharing. And what we'd like to do is open it up for questions. I do see some of my good friends from my office hours that are, always joining me there. But anyone that has any question about findIT, fulfillment, or interlibrary loan in general, feel free to either put a question in the chat or unmute yourselves.
Yeah, whatever is easier.
Hi, this is Christy, and I'm the ILL person at the University of Hartford. We have holdings in findIT, but they are quite ancient, and I'm looking into updating them. I was wondering if you could paste the LibGuide link in the chat that covers that and talk a little bit about that process. And I'm also wondering if the State Library or Equinox has any libraries that are using fulfillment in conjunction with ILLiad.
I can talk the first part, I think, with the holdings. So, hey, Christy, I will put a link in the chat to that findIT LibGuide page, and then I will separately send you an email with what you would need for your login information. And I'm happy to work with you on trying to get an updated set of holdings in the catalog.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Sure. And I'll let Brad take the second part while I do this.
So right now, are you getting the link?
Yeah,
Great.
I'm gonna get that right now.
Sounds good. So in terms of ILLiad, there is no connection between fulfillment and ILLiad. So they really are two separate systems.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And do you currently utilize fulfillment?
No.
Okay. If you're interested in talking more about that offline, feel free to reach out to me. Again, that training piece can be done for whether you're participating in the program or not. So we could go through the interface and that type of thing to see if it might be something that you'd be interested in.
Okay, thanks.
You got it. All right, and I do see that link is in the chat for you. All right. Any other questions that folks may have about findIT or requestIT or interlibrary loan?
It's a great service. Excellent. Bert from Enfield, Connecticut. Hi, Gail. Hi, Brad.
Hi, Bert. Great to see you.
It's true. They answered questions right away, and I appreciate this review because I'm getting older and not necessarily wiser. So, and Christy, I do business with you through ILLiad. I occasionally use universities through findIT, but when we had delivery issues, 10 years ago, all the universities were very nice in sharing their reference pages so we could go through them directly. But that's good to know. So you're free to call me anytime, Christy. Bert, not Ernie, okay?
I appreciate that. And I saw you pop up, Bert, and I thought that was you. We actually do quite a bit of blending with Connecticut libraries.
Okay.
Most of them get in touch with us through email, and that's one of the reasons why I'd really like to update our holdings, because we have so much more that we can give them that they would be able to find themselves, rather than, you know, posting things to the ILL listserv and me just responding to them.
Good job.
Yeah, it's funny. I always advocate people to use fulfillment, and I know a lot of people utilize the listserv. But today I received a request for 2 items via email. So, sometimes it's like whatever works is how you do it in interlibrary loan. And, the nice thing is, my email address is out there, but the way the question came in for 2 items, the format was correct. It had all the information I needed to fulfill that request. While we recommend that you use fulfillment, to me, it's about resource sharing and connecting with each other. So any means that works for each library, I think, is quite effective. Any other questions for us that we can answer?
Who else is here?
All right. Well, I think if there are no other questions, Gail and I want to thank you very much for attending today. It was a pleasure to see so many familiar faces and some new faces too. If you have any questions about findIT or requestIT, please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We'd be happy to help in any way we can. So with that, I would thank you all for your time and attendance, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you
Thank you.
all.